no better time to start the video than now. But what's going on, guys? I am Mr. Mattman. It is Friday. I don't know the date, 24th, 25th, I don't know. So today, the plan was to start working on the brake lines and getting everything tidied up. Kind of had a chill day. Doing stuff around the house and things like that. I did finally tack weld. Well, I guess like I kind of welded it because I ain't gonna weld it anymore. It's ugly, so I don't really care. You can judge me however you want. It's sturdy, it ain't going nowhere. So that is where it is going to be. So now I just gotta connect. There's a fitting right here my finger is at. That's the firewall, so that's gonna come out, connect to this guy. And then it's gonna be the front out, front left, right, and then the rear. Once those are connected, I'll be able to start bleeding the brakes and things like that. So I did take out the ECU and the switch panel, things like that, because whenever you weld, you don't want anything connected. So I've had I'm sure some of you guys are aware, I am doing drag week this upcoming year. So I've been looking and working to build a trailer for the project. So as you can see here, I got this guy right now. This is going to be the one that I'm going to build. I decided I'm going to keep this one and build it up. However, I had another one that I initially bought. Then I decided it wasn't going to work out for what I wanted it. So I finally had a guy come look at it to buy it today. So he gave me my asking price, which was cool. But I'm selling a 4x6 trailer, and the guy comes with a 5x8 trailer. So, excuse me, it didn't fit. So now I got my truck hooked up with my car trailer, and he's gonna pay me to deliver it, so that's cool. So hopefully I'll return back at a reasonable time and get some work done on this thing tonight. So catch you guys in a little bit. Alrighty, so I'm finally home from delivering the trailer. It's about 9 o'clock at night. So as I mentioned earlier, I welded this in, and I dusted some paint on it earlier before I left. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm going to make a brake line that goes from where my finger's at right here, that T-fitting, and it's going to connect to, turn the light on. It's going to connect right there, and that's the bulkhead of where the brake line goes through the firewall. So on the other side of that, it's going to be there. So it goes through, and that's where it will be. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to show you how to make a 37-degree brake line. All right, so now I just got in the shed and I want to go over some brake line stuff. So here pictured, you have the copper nickel line. I have some stainless steel line. This is what you call a bubble flare tube nut. This right here is what you call a 37-degree tube sleeve and tube nut. So how this works is the tube nut will go, the sleeve will go in the nut, like so. Basically slides in like that. And then that's going to be your flare on the end. This is how I currently have some of the stuff on the car done. So that'll be like that. I use this little tight radius tubing bender. This, along with this, is what I use to make the 37-degree flares. Now this is not the same as what you'd use on like an auto parts store double flare kit. This cone is actually a different angle. This is 37-degree versus 45. I learned the hard way. And then this guy right here is actually pretty cool. This is what I used to make the bubble flares. You use a couple different operations and you make it. And as you can see right here, I made a really nice bubble flare with that tool. But there's a problem, is I forgot to put the tube nut before I made the flare. So that's why this is now a scrap metal piece, because it wasn't long enough after I trimmed it. So yeah. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to start this tube. I want to make a flare with it first. And then we'll go into the car and measure up what we need. So I'm going to set up this in the bench vise, and I will show you in just a second. All right, so I put the flaring tool in the bench vise, as you can see here. So let's go ahead and get the line. So for this particular flare, the tool is only meant for the soft metals. That's why I have the nickel. So what I'm going to do is, one thing's always important, you put the tube nut and sleeve on the tube before you make the flare. I can't stress this enough. I've forgotten a lot, and it cost me a lot of time and frustration. So we're going to go ahead and put this in the tool. Now I'm using 3/16 brake line, so you have to use the 3/16 brake line section of the tool. We're going to put it just a little bit above the surface of the tool. Go ahead and clamp it down. Actually, that's a little bit too much. Find a happy spot where I like it. Right there. That's perfect. So I'm going to clamp this side down first. And you don't need any additional force, just your hands. Go ahead and clamp this side down as tight as you can get it. That way the tube doesn't slide. Now that's good. So now you can see here, it's just a little bit above the top, and that's perfect. So now let's go ahead, take this piece. We're going to slide it around the tool like this. You have to loosen this up just a hair. Put it right over on top of what we're trying to work on, and we're going to go ahead and spin it down. There. Now this doesn't need a lot of force at all, especially because it is the softer brake line of the different types of materials. So go ahead and spin this back up, loosen it. Now what you want to see, this right here is what you want to see. All the way around it's smooth, there's no cracking at all, so I didn't over flare it. So let's go ahead and get this out of the tooling and see how I did. Loosening up this side first. We're going to loosen up this side last. Flip it open. We're going to look at it. Now the one thing that does kind of stink about this tool is it grabs the sides pretty hard. So I usually actually have to put sandpaper and sand down the edges. But let's see here. Sometimes the tube nut won't be able to slide past. This time is actually good. So remember I said there's two parts to this. There's the nut and then there's the sleeve. So now you can see the sleeve is put right up against that flare, and then the nut will go over it. So this right now is a very good crimp. This is a very good flare. I am happy with it. 10 out of 10 satisfied. So now what I like to do is I'm going to go ahead and thread this in the part of the car that I'm working on, and then we're going to start bending it to where I need it. Alrighty, so I kind of got ahead of myself. I threaded this one in there. I bent this up. I bent it out 90. And then, like I said before, I want to zip tie this to the bar. That way it's nice and secure to something. I found out the length I needed was here. So what I'm going to do right now is you take these little guys, and this is actually used to cut the brake line. So if I can show you a little demonstration right here. So basically, you're going to take this little guy, and he spins around the tube. Now this is a small one compared to most. So you spin him around a couple times. You'll actually tighten it. You'll spin it around a couple times. And you'll feel a little bit of resistance each time. Tighten it more, spin them around. It is a process that just takes a little bit of feel. I mean, you don't want to go too much. So there you go, just cut the tube. So now this guy should go right up to there. So when I flare this, I know I'm going to be good. I have a little bit extra to work with, but this is perfect. So back to the shed, we're going to put a flare end on that. So again, it's the same process as before. You have your end that you're going to flare. You make sure you put on the tube nut and tube sleeve. So this one's actually inside. So slide it on. You put it back in your little brake line tool. Wrap this side around. You just want to have it a little bit out the top. Not a lot, just a little bit. I'm going to tighten this outside. Once that's tight, you tighten this one. You also want to make sure the deck of the tool is relatively flush, because that can lead to some inconsistencies with your flare. So same as before, put the tool over the top, you spin it down until it grabs. spin the tool, basically till it doesn't want to go any further without a lot of pressure. So right about there is where I feel comfortable. Let's go ahead and back it off. And same result. I like how that looks. It's not really favored to one side. It's pretty centered in the hole. So I would consider that a good flare. Go ahead and loosen the tool back up. So, inspect my flare. Like I said, I like how it looks. Flip my nut down. And as you can see here, the tube nut's on. So I think this is a good flare. So now, this is a completed brake line to go from the firewall to the mating center for the proportion valve. So let's go install it. All right, so we got one brake line down. That goes up. It's gonna go across the firewall on the dash bar and straight into that T-fitting. That's gonna go now into this whole proportion valve line lock setup. So now front output, front output, and then rear output. So now on these, I'm actually gonna use the stainless steel line, and I'm gonna use the tube fittings instead of using the copper line, just because it's gonna be a little bit easier to do it that way. So I already have a hole that I've run through for many years. It's that hole right there. So the brake line's gonna come in there, it's gonna go up, and then it's gonna come into here. So a little bit more intricate, but nonetheless not hard. I'm gonna bend it. I'm gonna get it situated before I video. So I'll show you guys an update in a second. Unfortunately, I have been defeated. So I made the one line, I did the passenger front wheel well. So you can see it goes from there. I already tightened it just through the hole in the firewall, or wheel well, or whatever you want to call it. And all it does is just run behind the pedals, goes up, and it runs into there on the bottom. So it doesn't touch the gas pedal at all, and it works there. So basically today we got the master cylinder to T, and then we got the front left done. So the problem is, I didn't realize this, but the stainless steel tubing is so hard on tooling. Like, it's so hard, it broke my tool already. So the 37-degree tool I actually tried using it once on stainless, and it destroyed the tool. Like, the stainless steel tubing is harder than the tool itself, and I don't know how to describe it, but it scored the tooling so bad that it was not usable. So I had to buy another 37-degree kit. Now this awesome double flare tool I have, it just broke. So I'm gonna go in the shed and I'll show you. So here I have a pile of stuff, but as you see here, I mean, that tool makes really good bubble flares. You know, this is a test one I did. This wasn't so good. I tried using a different tool on that, and this was done on the tooling I'm using now. So I guess it's made by Titan, but thankfully I just found out that it's sold at at O'Reilly's Auto Parts. So it's a compact flaring kit. So basically you slide the tube in the end, and then you put this is a tubing stop. You thread the tubing stop in. So you slide the tube in until it touches. You lock down these two 10 millimeters. You remove this piece, and then you have this guy. So it says right there, operation 1. So you'd thread that in first, flare it, you'd flip it around, and then run this in, and that's how you make your double bubble. Well, the problem is, in the center of this, there's supposed to be like a little nipple that comes out to center the tubing, and then also on this side. And you can see here that the damn tit just broke off. So I'm hoping if I buy one more tool, it'll make it through just the other couple of lines I need to make. So it freaking sucks. So that tool's garbage, but hey, I guess unfortunately that's the price you pay when you're trying to do things on your own versus having someone else do it, because they would have to worry about the tooling, not you. But it is what it is. I'm learning. I definitely learned never to buy the stainless steel tubing again and stick with more of the copper stuff. So I think from now on, I'm just going to work with the nickel stuff. I'm going to toss the rest of the stainless stuff in the trash. I don't have the tooling for it. And from Eastwood, they're the only people I've seen that sell the stainless steel tooling. And the flaring tool itself is like $200 or $300. So, nah, fam, I can't do that. I don't do this shit enough to afford or to justify buying that. So anyway, I'm tapping out for the night. I'll throw this video up now, and I'll keep working tomorrow. I just gotta get the tool from O'Reilly's and hopefully get these damn brake lines done tomorrow. I don't want to do them no more. I hate brake lines. So anyway, y'all have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow.